Since moving to the farm, Everett and I have been working really hard to eliminate highly processed foods from our diet. Things like store-bought bread, crackers, tortillas, snack foods, things that are full of preservatives to keep themselves shelf stable. It's really unnerving when you make a fresh loaf of bread and it goes bad in a week, and then you see a loaf of store-bought bread, even the nice store-bought bread, that stays fresh looking for a month after you bought it. You start to go, okay, what's going on here? Food should go bad. Food should be a perishable thing. The place where this has been the most challenging, though, is Everett's love of snack foods and sweets. Having ready-made sweet things available when he wants them has proven a challenge. I have discovered a way around this, and it is essentially homemade convenience foods. We're going to make a batch of chocolate chip pecan oatmeal cookies. We're going to bake a few for immediate consumption, but the rest of them are going in little pre-packaged or pre-proportioned dough balls that I can bake at a later date, making it very convenient to give my husband cookies and hope that he won't ask for a glass of milk and a straw and all that stuff, just like the proverbial mouse. Let's get started. If you like cookie-based content, like and subscribe. We're going to be doing several more break and bake type recipes as the season progresses. I've started by putting a cup of pecans on a cookie sheet. You guys recognize my lipped Wilton cookie sheet that I use for utility purposes. And we're going to put them in my oven on, I have a toast function. We're going to toast them for about 5 minutes. So I've just pulled the toasted pecan chunks out of the oven, and now we're going to start the actual process of making the cookies. We're going to start by creaming a cup of butter that I've been softening on top of my refrigerator to avoid it being stolen by the cats. And with the butter, we are going to cream a 1.5 cups of dark brown sugar, gently packed, and a cup of granulated white sugar. Sorry, 1/2 cup of granulated white sugar, not a full cup. We're going to add 2 room temperature eggs. These are courtesy of Jenny and Clementine. And I always crack in an extra or a separate bowl in case I get like little shell particulate or whatever in it. It's a lot easier to fish it out when it's in a smaller container than if it's in your whole cookie recipe. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I'm using the pure vanilla extract double strength from Penzeys. Our next step is to mix up the dry ingredients with the exception of the pecans, the chocolate chips, and the oatmeal. You're going to add a cup and a half of all-purpose flour. Teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda. We're going to add a teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm using the Penzeys Vietnamese cinnamon because again, it has that bam in your face cinnamon taste that I really like. And then you're going to add a half a teaspoon of allspice and a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. It's winter, and I like my cookies to have a little more spice than in other months. Although, who am I really kidding? I really enjoy a lot of different flavors in my cookies. Put an extra half a teaspoon of cinnamon in here. Alright, it's no big deal. It'll get mixed in. Maybe just a little extra cinnamony. Oops. I'm used to my cinnamon being a really big jar like this nutmeg is. Oh well. Happy little accidents, right? There are no mistakes, just happy little accidents. And back to the mixer we go. We're going to slowly incorporate these dry ingredients into the creamed sugar, butter, vanilla, egg mixture that we've already created. Remember, avoid the flour explosion by turning off your mixer before you start adding your flour. And start slowly. Now we're back at the prep station for our final 3 ingredients. So to our creamed butter, sugar, vanilla, eggs, flour, spices, and baking powder mixture. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. we're going to add 3 cups of old-fashioned oatmeal. And we're going to do that a little bit at a time, and we're going to use my dough whisk. Now here's something crazy about this cookie recipe. You can add whatever you want to this base oatmeal cookie recipe. You could add raisins. You could add currants. You could add dried cranberries and almonds. Whatever floats your boat. We happen to be big fans. I like walnuts too in my chocolate chip cookies, my chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. So I might add walnuts or hazelnuts. It's really a good basic cookie recipe. But let me tell you, this dough gets really stiff. And unfortunately, you can't really use your mixer to do this because it would probably tear up the motor. Maybe a dough hook. Then we're gonna add 10 ounces of Ghirardelli, well, this has to be Ghirardelli, chocolate chips. I'm using a dark chocolate, bittersweet chocolate chip. Ghirardellis are pretty good. My favorite chocolate chip, I haven't been able to find up here. It's the Goutard chocolate chip. I think it is one of the best chocolate chips on the market. And they make really amazing butterscotch chips, which that's another thing you could add to these cookies. You can make a good old-fashioned oatmeal scotcheroo. And last but not least, about a cup and a half of roasted, toasted pecan fragments. We're going to save this cookie sheet for something else. The more stuff we add, the harder it's getting to stir. So I'm going to use my OXO cookie scoop, and I'm going to scoop a nice large amount. We're only going to make 9 cookies. That's right, 9. The remaining dough will be flash frozen in little balls that I can then put into a freezer bag and pull out when my husband's sweet tooth hits him and he wants cookies. Actually, one of my projects this holiday season is to make an assortment of different cookies that I can then freeze and then turn into instant cookies. Kind of like like one of those break and bake cookie blocks that you can buy at the grocery store, but from scratch. There's something fun about from scratch convenience foods. We're gonna put these on into a preheated oven. We're gonna cook them for about 8 to 10 minutes, and halfway through, I'm going to rotate them so that they bake evenly. In the meantime, I'm going to put these little cookie balls onto my baking sheet so I can put them in the freezer. And because they're not going to be baked, they're going to be frozen, we're going to squish them together as close as they'll go. It's really interesting. When I was a Montessori teacher, I did my training. The school that I did my training at used to serve homemade cookies with every lunch. and the way they were able to pull that off was much the same way. They would make cookies in their downtime and then freeze the dough balls so that you would have cookies ready to go. All you have to do is throw them in the oven. So that was really brilliant. One of the other benefits of doing it this way is portion control. Instead of having an entire batch of 24 cookies, you bake as many as you need. Well, no one needs cookies, but as many as you want. I think these would be really good with dried apples. I made dried apples earlier in the fall, and I think these would be excellent with dried apples. We're gonna put these in the freezer for a few hours until they flash frozen and are firm enough to put into a Ziploc bag that we can put into the deep freeze. Now those are truly a thing of beauty. And if you notice, they're a little shiny, which is what you want. You don't want your cookies to look matte. If they look matte, they are overdone. These cookies are right on point. They're a little squishy when they come in, or come out rather, but as they cool, they really solidify. Sometimes cookies seem like they aren't completely done when you pull them out, but they just need time to cool and have everything kind of congeal into their cookie form. But these are just, they smell amazing. So I'm going to go tell my husband that his cookies are done, and he's going to be a very happy man. I think this is one of those places where everyone wants to be healthy, but I feel like unless you take time for a cookie here and there, you aren't really truly living life. So at least if you're gonna eat them, make them homemade with love. Thanks for stopping in, and until next time, next cookies, you take care of yourselves.